Hello, dear listener. I have something truly special to share. It's an exclusive invitation to join me in Mexico for an intimate and luxurious 3-day retreat along the beautiful Pacific coast of Zihuatanejo, taking place the weekend of the spring equinox, March 18th through the 20th. There's also an optional day to stay through the 21st for some special ceremonies that are happening in the area for the equinox. But the retreat itself is the 18th through the 20th, really an opportunity not to be missed. And I'm offering one lucky listener a discounted ticket on this weekend that I've just been loving into being actually for several years now as COVID and, everything. But when we conceived of building this place, our home down here, it's really what we envisioned, bringing people down here for retreats, for trainings, because we felt and we knew that this space was special. And as people keep coming down and we keep getting the feedback, how magical it is, we want to share it in a really intentional way. Be working with the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, the metaphors of the season. We'll set sight on a new vision for our mothering journey and creating a deeper connection to self and Mother Nature. So to win a discounted ticket, rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Screenshot it and DM it to me on Instagram at Dr. Gertrude Lyons. And remember, the most important thing to mother is yourself. Give yourself permission to take a retreat this year. And besides, who said mothers can't go on a spring break? I'll see you there.
Hello, and welcome to Rewrite the Mother Code. I'm Dr. Gertrude Lyons, a professional life coach, exploring, demystifying, and democratizing the maternal power that lives in all women. The experience of mothering may not necessarily mean what you think it means. I believe that mothering is a vehicle for transformation, whether or not we have children. And together, we can start a new conversation around modern motherhood. On this show, we will redefine what it means to mother and untap the powerful feminine within you. Are you ready to rewrite the mother code? This is a Soulfire production. Hi, listeners. Super excited to be here today to share this episode. And nope, it's not a solo episode, and it's not an interview episode, both of which I will be doing and doing more of. This is something so special and something when it was suggested, I have to say, nervous and feeling super vulnerable about. But this episode is a live coaching session. And oh my God, like how beautiful and cool is that? And when it was suggested, I thought, well, who's going to want to do that? Who's going to want to come on and be recorded and really be in a real coaching session? And this meeting was with Soulfire Productions, who I love, but also Simply Be Agency. And the CEO and founder of Simply Be Agency is Jessica Zweig. And she just stepped right up and said, I'll do it. And I think I started to cry when she said that. And I was so moved. And I was like, well, I guess if she's going to step up, we're going to do this thing. Jessica is somebody I have been coaching and have had the privilege to, and she is amazing. If you don't know her yet, I hope you just as a person look into her more and her agency, Simply Be, which is a personal branding all about authenticity and vulnerability and really putting yourself out there. So it should be obvious that she lives and breathes and walks her talk, and then in this episode, which, I don't want to give it all away and in the intro, but she really allowed herself to open up and be vulnerable and go for what, she really wanted for herself out of this session. We covered a lot of territory, what it's like to run a thriving, growing business, what it's like to be putting a book out in February, and this isn't like a strategy and how to do that, but really, what does this mean to her personally? What's it stirring up? What is, happening with her emotionally, and how can she maximize this opportunity? Like I talk about in Rewriting the Mother Code, how do we maximize our own growth and transformation when we're really in our most chaotic time? And I personally haven't published a book, but I've been around people who have, and I did do a dissertation. So I know personally that the stress of that is huge, and it opens us up to a really raw, vulnerable space. And Jessica does an amazing, beautiful job of really working that for herself. So, and I get to share it with all of you, which I'm super excited about. I hope you are too. Can't wait to hear what you think about it. Without further ado, we'll launch right in.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Gertrude.
It's been a little bit. So
It has been.
I'm really happy to see you. And I know a lot's been going on in your life since last time we met. So I figured let's get started, kind of you catching up, and then let's look at like what you want to accomplish today in our coaching.
So as you know, I am birthing my book baby in less than 2.5 months. And safe to say that I've been going through some contractions.
Yeah, you're definitely in your third trimester. You're feeling very big and heavy with child.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
In all of the ways.
Nursery and nesting. I guess there's a lot of like parallels that we could use, but you go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's been really overwhelming, really emotional. I sent a text to one of my best friends, Ria, today. And she's been my rock actually throughout this experience. And just really grateful to have a friend, who's been there, who's like really had a similar baby. Yeah. It's interesting, like how, moms can commune over the perils of childhood, and right. Like moms become friends with other moms. Like I have a sister in Ria she's a fellow author. And so she's been my sounding board, and it's just very vulnerable to put a book out into the world. And I have been talking to her a lot, and she's just like, it is the most emotional roller coaster of your life. And no one talks about how emotional it is. Cause I'm like, why do I feel like crying every 5 minutes? And then, at the same time, I'm like so excited and enthusiastic about my book and hopeful and wanting it to be perfect and beautiful, like you'd want your own little baby to be. But it's, it's like postpartum. It's like emotional hormones, like a lot of ups and downs emotionally. And there's just so much expectation, whether it's self-imposed or from the world, of like, do you want to make the bestseller list? And how many books are you going to sell? And what's your strategy? And how, and you just feel like you have to be everywhere. And I've sort of told myself, I'm not doing this for a list. But if I were to think truly, authentically in my heart of hearts, of course I want that. Of course I want that. Who wouldn't want that?
Right.
And so if you really want to know the truth, I've had a ton of anxiety. I went out to Palm Springs to like ground and get clarity and space. And I didn't really have it. I had the first half of the month I was out there. I had all of my amazing friends come visit, which was awesome. But I was also really I didn't think that decision totally through. Like I didn't have any personal space for the first half of the month that I was there. And I was hosting people and running my business and trying to adjust to a different time zone and get Jessica time and be there for Brian and start to market my book. So it really wasn't the month that I thought it was going to be, if I'm going to be totally honest with you.
Well, and do you mind if I interrupt for a second? Because, you've said so many things, Jessica, like that, in this realm, but particularly when you were just naming all the things that, you were giving your attention to and realizing that you were putting yourself last, you were aware, you're like, okay, wait, I came here. And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we feel like, oh, having friends, that'll be nourishing. I love my people, right? Like, it's not like it's that, but in the midst of it, then how do I realize like, oh, wait, this isn't what I really need right now. And how do I take care of myself now that I'm in this space and in this moment? But just this propensity with where we're at to know when do we need time to ourselves, when do we need, to be with other people, and then adjust course when it's not feeling right, and really kind of make some of these choices along the way. And I think, and learn from it no matter what, which it sounds like you're doing, kind of looking back on it, it's not like, oh, big mistake, but wow, what did I just learn from that month that I took for myself, to be away?
I really, I actually came into this session today with you and was like, I'm going to tell her exactly where I am and all the things going on. And she's going to be like, you're not mothering yourself. You're putting yourself last, as you always typically do, Jessica. And it's funny because I learned such a grave lesson, not grave, but like a powerful one when I was in Palm Springs. I think that's just what we do. I think a lot as, women who want to, who love hard, and I want to create community and, connection. And so in going out to Palm Springs and renting this house and inviting all my friends, like I thought I was creating that, but I really didn't think that decision all the way through, because it was filling my cup in a very specific way. Right. Sure. But for me to really feel full, I know I need my alone time. And I know that about myself. Mm-hmm. And I really overlooked that going into this trip. And so I've been back now for a few days and have been, recalibrating. I will say that I'm ready for the holiday. I'm really excited for taking a few days off myself, and just really just resting, because I have been working really hard. And they say that launching a book is like launching a second company. It's like its own full-time enterprise in a way. And I kind of feel that right now.
Well, exactly. And, you said it at the beginning, but it is also like giving birth to a child. And I think, we can look at it through both lenses. I think of the launching of a business as sometimes a little more on the masculine thinking. We think that way about it, but they're still the same. They're still very similar. And all the vulnerabilities that you were talking about, Jessica, I think to be, not brush over, and not like it's some of the gift that this is going to give you are those openings, and you get to raise yourself along with this book. And just like with the child, like the book is a part of you. It's like your DNA, brought out, but different, it's its own unique being, and it's going to have a life of its own that you're going to shepherd and foster, but you get to really learn and grow and transform along with it. And, I think you're thinking some of those things, but I really want to give you the opportunity to look at what is that and name it for yourself, so that through all these painful times and, the vulnerable times of it, that you're getting the most out of it, even though sometimes it's going to be really painful and a whole range of feelings that you have.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where we really transform the most, right? Is in these like big, massive sort of epic shifts and transitions, right? And I'm transitioning from an entrepreneur to an author. Like I've never done that before. Mm-hmm. And
well, it's not a from to, it's a from and.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
You're not leaving entrepreneur,
exactly.
But you're adding author.
Not at all. Exactly. And they both are so significant to one another. And my book is my work, it's my Simply Be methodology and business in a book. And I think that's really what I'm feeling right now is like I read on Instagram a meme or something on someone's story or something like that when a caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it literally becomes liquid. It like turns to mush.
Gelatinous
and
mass.
Yes. And I feel that right now. I feel like I'm a gelatinous fucking mess. I do. And it's really interesting that, I'm glad we're talking about this. And I'm glad we're going to.
Well, the tendency, Jessica, is to like get out of that discomfort as quickly as possible, but that caterpillar like has to go through the whole process, and you can't necessarily rush it, and you can't, and not like there's a prescribed time for it, but it's so uncomfortable and you just feel like, just like that, like everything's a mess. It's a wreck. I don't know, what's up. I can feel really regressed. Sometimes you might feel like really little, just like really little. And we don't, we won't get you won't build the full muscles and become the full butterfly you can be if you don't give that its whole process and really let yourself experience it and feel it.
I know. I have been feeling it. Mm-hmm. That is for sure. I actually had something really cool happen today. So I have this, you are one of many of my support staff, as you know. Awesome. Does take a village. Mm-hmm. And one of the people that I see is like a medium. And she was saying, I called her today, I actually had like a little mini moment. I just reached out to her and she was like, I think you need to, whenever I talk to your guides, I see 333 and you should really look into that. And I was like, okay. And so this afternoon I was recording a podcast and I was looking out the window of my office while I was recording this little podcast like clip that I had to send into our production company. And there's an electronic billboard across the like highway from my office. I looked directly at it from my window and it was, like an ad came up for like some company and it said like 1-800-333-33333. And I was like, and I was really feeling kind of in the thick of my shit in that moment.
Yeah.
And then I recorded this little clip in and I hit like stop to send to like upload it. And it was 111. It was 1 minute and 11 seconds. And I believe in all of that stuff. I know you do too. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really trying to anchor back into is like, how can I just look for the affirmation signs that I am, to use your words, like a gelatinous mess in pursuit of something greater that's more expansive, and that everything is sort of happening in its divine order, even though it feels really hard right now. That was a really cool moment.
Hi, I'm so excited to share with you my 2024 Spring Equinox Self-Mothering Retreat that's happening this March 2024. And I would love for you not only to consider it, but to attend. But in considering it, hey, just knowing that you would be leaving cold weather, if that's the space that you're in, and coming down to just magnificently beautiful, warm, nourishing place of Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Zihuatanejo meaning land of the goddess women, and coming to really take time for yourself. Okay. And that I am learning more and more isn't just a nice thing to do or something extravagant or something selfish. It's essential. And I really want you to take it seriously, to consider, just think about what would it take for me to go. It's a 5.5-day retreat. Getting from where you are, getting there, landing there, and then being in a space that is all about you. It's all about nourishing you. It's all about tuning into you, using everything around us, the nature, the food, the beautiful people, the rituals, ceremonies. I bring it, we really bring it. And we go deeper and deeper as the days go on, and we release, we let go, we bring in what is nourishing, what is empowering, what is that space of just really divine feminine energy. And we do it in the community of women. It's not for everyone. I will be honest, if the idea of leaving and not making it work, or it's just too hard, not for you. If the idea of, spending that amount of time inwardly focused and going to that level of self-awareness doesn't sound like something you're willing to do or put the time and energy into, then it's not for you. And it's good to know that, right? So this is for people who are serious about what it means to mother themselves, what it means to take time for ourselves, and that gift and what that gift can bring to us. It was originally right after my fall retreat. It filled right up. But now some people, it turns out, are not able to come. So I do have a handful of openings. And if you're listening to this and you're willing to take that step, please reach out to me. We can do a discovery call, or you can put a deposit down. I would love that. And you can do that by going to my website, www.drgertrudelyons, DrGertrudelyons.com. Go to events, and there you go. It'll all be there. There's a beautiful page there for you to explore. I look forward to hearing from you and then seeing you on my spring retreat.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm thinking about as you're saying that, Jessica, is, we're in this gelatinous mass. We're like regress. Things feel like really out of control, like little or any of that. Is then you get to kind of pretend for a while that you're a grown up. You get to pretend that you're a fully formed butterfly while you're still in the gelatinous mass. So, I gotta go pretend I'm an adult right now. I gotta go pretend that I have it all together. But meanwhile, I know that I'm still the gelatinous mass and that's still in its process.
but I don't have to like lie to myself or act like that it's real, that I'm, does this make sense? Like,
Yes.
I get to go kind of pretend I'm an adult for a little bit, and then you can, go to your space and like, well, oh, good. Like, here I am back in my gelatinous mass. Like, this is what's really real right now. And the rest is, me, you can live in both worlds.
Totally. And I think that's something that I've really learned from working with you is, like, I think I have a tendency to really judge my feelings. Like I put a lot of shame or guilt around my feelings. I've had a tendency of doing that my whole life, of just sort of like being angry at myself for feeling angry, or being like, sad that I feel sad, or upset that I'm upset. And I think it's such an important learning curve to just be able to allow yourself to feel it. Mm-hmm. And, I've just in the last few days, like I've cried, just cried for, and it felt so good. Yeah. It's like so healing to cry. Mm-hmm. And I really do feel like it's what we're here to do as humans, like, is to feel. And honestly, Gertrude, I don't really cry that often. I used to cry so much more. Mm-hmm. And I think I've just allowed myself to be way too busy to cry.
Yeah. We'll fill our day. You are busy, and you're leading a full life, but we have to then kind of really choose and give ourselves these spaces. And it might be part of the reason why you unconsciously let people into your space in the month that you had. Because, we know that it would be good for us, but we also know if I give myself that space, I might cry, and I might cry and I might not stop, or, who knows, we have mistaken beliefs about what could happen. So it's not an accident, that you had an entourage of people coming through and, didn't quite get to like as much being time with yourself. And that's okay. Like, that's not to feel bad. It's like, oh, wow, I really have to honor my system here and allow and have compassion, because it's, there's a lot there, and then honor and really celebrate all the times that you are letting it go, and opening the faucets to it. Because it's not that you feel sad. I don't think it's that you feel sad that you felt sad. It's then you feel some mistaken belief about the feeling you just had. We feel shame, or we have shame, or we have guilt or something, because we're not supposed to feel that. So, giving yourself that permission, and then celebrating. I just had a good cry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It literally was, I had an appointment or like I would have cried longer, and I was so annoyed. I was like, I want to keep crying. Like, it was like really awesome. Honestly, it felt really important, and I was like, I was getting all I was getting all these chills. Like I get like lots of feelings of angels whenever I cry. Like I can feel my angels and my spirit guides more viscerally, physically when I cry than I do any other time in my life. It's very strange.
Well, strange, or what do you make of it? Like, why might that be so, given what you're exploring?
I think that's the wrong word. I mean, I actually shouldn't say strange. I think it's an insight. So I'm going to go on a bird walk for a second, but I'm going to come back to your question. So I read this book. Do you know the book Bringers of the Dawn? No. About the Pleiadians? It's a really cool book. Basically, this woman, Barbara Marcianak, she channeled the Pleiadians in like 1995 or something, and she wrote a whole book, and it's literally like all channeled from the Pleiadians, and it's one of my favorite books. And the Pleiadians said that our greatest human potential is inside of our emotions. Like our emotions as humans is what makes us human. It's what makes us so unique as a species, is that we can feel the way we feel. And honestly, I've been denying a lot of my feelings like lately, just because I'm like, fuck it, I'm so busy. It's like, I'm just going to work. And I think to answer your question, why it's a strange, not insight. It's more insightful than it is strange. It's like, when I cry, Gertrude, I can feel the presence of spirit in a way that I can't when I'm neutral. And it's just this deep opening, because I'm so open. I'm so emotionally open in those tears that I can have deeper access to, like, a higher consciousness, really. And And yet I still don't allow myself to go there very often because I have to keep it together, based on what I do every day and what I need to do every day.
And if I don't keep it together,
then I can't lead my staff. My company won't run. I'll be judged. I'll like fall apart to the point I can't like come back, and I've got shit to do. Yeah. I think it's an ironic thing.
Yeah. So as you say that, does that feel real?
Somewhat. Yeah.
So if I'm in my feelings, or I let my guard down and I feel I won't get anything done and nobody will respect me. And
no, I don't really believe that.
That's what you said.
I mean, I think that's a fear that I have.
Yes, absolutely. And I think to make that distinction, right? Like, is that real, or is that an imagined fear I have? And is that what's been programmed, into me from our culture, whatever, but when you hear it reflected back, does it feel real? What feels more real? The experience that when I'm in my emotions, I feel the presence of spirit and angels, and I'm open and I'm guided, or if I'm in my feelings, I won't get anything done and people will leave me and my business will fall apart.
The former feels more real.
And I know this is a little out there, but it's coming. I'm just having this picture of a totally different paradigm of you, like, hey guys, like, I'm in my feelings and like I have angels around me. So if you want to be around me, like, you might like get a little bit, and you can, join me in this spirit time. And let's see what happens. Let's see what we create. Let's see where we go.
I can get down with that. I think a lot of people would want to get down with that. It's true. Yeah, I think.
Well, and the people that don't, like, that's the team you attract. Those are the people that you have decided that you want around you. So, I'm not saying there aren't people that be like, what are you talking about, crazy lady? Because in their paradigm, might not get that. And, so I'm not saying that you won't get some, responses that aren't totally like, yeah, I'm in, but whose loss is that?
Right. No, I'm all about that, right? Like that's my message, authenticity, and like, revive attracts your tribe, and who gives a shit what other people think of you. And I think that, in many ways, I say this often, we're here to teach what we're learning ourselves. And, I've had a long history of rejection and abandonment and all of the things that I sort of safeguarded my life to not feel that way. And to teach other people to like trust themselves and feel worthy of themselves. And yet, here I am, struggling with myself. So I think that's what makes an authentic
Beautiful.
teacher is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're only a teacher if you like have it all figured out and you're like done. Like, that's a lie anyway, but
there's no such thing as what's done.
If anybody says that, like, yeah. But you do have expertise, and you do have, it's both, right? Like you have a lot of value to, a lot of hard work on, and mastery of your craft and all of that. And you're learning and growing and developing, just like everyone else, or anyone who's deciding to do that. I can't say everyone is choosing that.
Yeah. I'm really like, I think also I wanted to say this earlier. I think I'm feeling the end of the year, like 2020, like drag of COVID, the election, like everything that we have rode as a wave of multiple waves this year. And I think that there's something to be said about the second lockdown that we're going into, and just how, like, honestly, like you said something to me so funny. Actually, I'm going to bring this up and then I'll come back. Okay. You said something to me when the pandemic struck in March,
Yeah.
And I had sent out that letter and I launched a course, and you made a comment to me, Gertrude. You were like, it's as if you've been planning for a pandemic for months. Like you just came out the gate with like all of this messaging and all of these ideas and solutions and products and ways to help. And it was like kind of true. It was like I pulled a rabbit out of my hat, and we rode that wave of those first 3 or 4 months of lockdown, simply be like thrived, but I also burnt out almost. And so all of that aside, all that being said, I should say those few months at their core were traumatic. Mm-hmm. Like it was traumatic to be locked in our houses, unknowns, like just so much fear. And then we kind of opened up and kind of got back to life in the summer and the fall, but not really, but at least we could see each other to some degree. And now we're heading back in, and I just have so much pending anxiety about January, February, March, like these cold months in Chicago and being isolated. And I think so much of what I've learned about myself is that I heal in process. Like I heal in conversation and connection and community and friendships. And I don't see my friends, I don't see people. And it's like just now in November, dawning on me, like, wow, Jessica, that this is a shock to your system, an epic loss.
Right.
You've actually been grieving this part of your life, and you haven't really let yourself. And so I think there's a lot to that too, of where I am right now.
100%. Jessica, and I think, two things are coming up as you say that. One, there was that, like, just kind of out of the blue, like what felt like, like, okay, pandemic, here we are, and we all coped with it in a like out of the shock of it. I don't know, the suddenness, the panic, in any number of ways, right? And even though I said, like, it seems like you planned for this, maybe intuitively there was a way you did, but none of us could plan it. None of us had planned, like, what are we going to, on March, whatever, 20th, you were going to go into a pandemic shutdown. So, plan ahead. We didn't have that, right? And now we're dealing with, so, we're going into this Thanksgiving weekend and this holiday, and you mentioned the end of the year. And I think it's critical more than ever this year to really harvest this year, to, partly we just kind of want to, I see all these things like, done with 2020, like, can't wait to like let it go. But it's in us. And what you're naming is like, it was traumatic, and that's like living in us. And, to the extent that we're willing to revisit it, and kind of relive the trauma in some ways, but more, in a healthy way. I don't mean like, you know what I mean? Like, like go back, review it, but from both sides, like there have been just beautiful things that have come out of it. Everything that you've produced, like in many ways, there's these beautiful things, but there are also these really painful, hard times, and not taking care of myself and, working myself to the ground. But we need to be with all of it. And this shutdown we get to plan for, and this one, we actually have a little heads up. We actually have a little practice on how to do this. And we can plan a little bit. And I also think it's really interesting because it's this dark time of the year. It's also like winter, which is hibernation, which is, what are the ways that, and, it's what I know we're going to be wrapping up here shortly, but, it's not just how do I want my holiday season? How do I want my, pandemic sheltering in place, like hibernation, look at my year, there's just so much to be with, but also I think, hibernation, you go inside, like that's it is time to like nest and, hibernate and be with, everything that's happened, in this past year, so that we can start dreaming. It's a dreaming time too, and look at and plan what this year is going to be. And I think if we go at it more consciously that way, there's a lot possible.
I think you're absolutely right. And I'm planning on doing that.
Yeah.
I have like some sacred time set aside. I'm actually hosting an event myself to promote my book, but it's really my moment of activation and declaration of what I want 2021 to feel. I'm doing an event on January 3rd. It's going to be called A New Year to Be. And
beautiful.
it's inspired by my book, Be. And
we'll have, we should talk about that, but okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just very, very clear that I just have to set aside the time to do it and get myself clear. Cause I really do think that 2021 is going to be a different kind of year in a good way. I think we've really learned a lot as a society, as a culture, of what really matters in life. Like, I think there are some really beautiful gifts that COVID has given us.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I miss people and I miss life. Community and connection and all of the things that I typically, nourish myself with. And it's been really challenging, but I'm feeling a bit more clear after talking to you. So,
well, you said something just then, like, I know this is what I have to do. And it's given how we started with the, like, well, I want you to feel clear, like what your plan is, like between now and we're not going to like totally plan that out, but between now and you mentioned the January 3rd, I'm calling that like your coming out party or your be and launch into the year. But between now and then, where are the spaces that are, sanctified as the, untouchable? I don't know, the just be with me places that you're going to do this. And then you can include Brian, you can then, decide, because I know there'll be planning you want to do as a couple. And things like that. So, but first starting with you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've got a bunch of things coming up I've got some space this Thanksgiving weekend, and then it's a sprint for Simply Be. It just is. It always is. Those last few weeks of the year, we have 3 weeks we take 2 weeks off. You're going to be getting a note as a client. You know that we always close down during the holidays.
Yeah.
And so those 2 weeks that I actually, Alicia, my COO, thinks it's like amazing / insane in a way that I give the staff 2 weeks off on top of their PTO. It's kind of unheard of. And I'm like, I don't care. I need it. I want those 2 weeks myself. And so if I'm going to take them, then the whole staff can benefit from that too. And so I have 2 weeks. Brian and I are going to Mexico for those 6 days. Mm-hmm. It's usually my favorite time of year because I clean my apartment. I listen to podcasts. I journal. I do like New Year's cleansing of my closets. Like I do a lot of, I desire map. The Danielle Laporte work is really powerful for me. Good. And so I just feel very much like excited about that time. And that's, I can do things on a day-to-day basis, like meditate and, to have conversations like this to really take care of myself. But that to me is always the most, like, one of the most precious, sweetest, most nourishing times of my year are those 2 weeks. And I have them to look forward to. So
great. Then I love that. So I feel more secure. And then I think you adding, an aspect that we talked about in there is as much permission, openness around your expression and feeling of your emotions as they come up. And, where it feels comfortable to invite people to join you, fine, either way, that you get what a gift it is to yourself and others when you do, and start rewiring, some of those mistaken beliefs that came up as you were sharing about them. And we want to really nail down that new reality of what's real around our emotions and yours, because it was really beautiful. And I want you to keep remembering that and reinforcing it as you do it. How does that sound?
I will. It sounds great.
Because you have some space set aside.
It's always so great. It's always so great to talk to you.
Mm. Well, I feel blessed and honored to be with you. So it's mutual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you love this episode, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so that you can stay on the journey and continue to hear more about rewriting your mother code.